Committee on Homeland Security Subcommittee on Cybersecurity Infrastructure Protection will come to order. Without objection, the chair may declare the committee in recess at any point. The purpose of this hearing is to examine the evolution of cybersecurity threats to U.S. critical infrastructure following discovery of the Stuxnet malware 15 years ago. We will highlight the importance of securing operational technology, or OT, to bolster critical infrastructure resilience. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. 15 years ago, the world learned of Stuxnet, a computer worm that forever altered the cyber threat landscape. Regarded as the world's first digital weapon, it was designed to target industrial control systems. It was used against Iran's nuclear program, reportedly destroying 1,000 centrifuges at the Natanz enrichment plant. Malware, or malicious software, has existed since at least the 1970s. However, Stuxnet was different from its predecessor. The discovery of it demonstrated both the physical impact of malware and raised important questions about cybersecurity defense and offense. These are issues we continue to face today. It revealed the significant impact that offensive cyber tools can have on critical infrastructure. It also demonstrated the importance of securing operational technology by exploiting key vulnerabilities in industrial control systems. It proved that cybersecurity is not only an IT issue. Cybersecurity threats can affect critical infrastructure we depend on daily, from water treatment to energy facilities. The cybersecurity threat landscape continues to expand, and we need to make sure our cyber professionals are prepared to defend both IT and OT. Doing so will strengthen the public and private sector's ability to rapidly respond to threats. Since discovering Stuxnet 15 years ago, cybersecurity threats to critical infrastructure have drastically evolved and spread beyond just malware. We now see various cyber capabilities being used to hack critical infrastructure, including phishing, social engineering, denial of service attacks, and more. While cyber attack vectors have grown and matured, malware is still of great concern. Malware comes in many forms, such as keyloggers, spyware, viruses, and ransomware, with ransomware comprising 1/3 of all cyber attacks in 2024. The interconnected nature of our networks, devices, and infrastructure means that critical infrastructure owners and operators now experience far more attacks than when Stuxnet was unleashed, and zero-day vulnerabilities are far from being eliminated. Strengthening domestic cybersecurity resilience remains a key priority for this committee. Considering the sophisticated cybersecurity threats we now face, we are once again reminded of the importance of reauthorizing two key authorities ahead of their expiration this year: the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act and the State and Local Cybersecurity Grant Program. Reauthorizing CISA 2015 will ensure we keep encouraging rapid and trusted information sharing among public and private sector entities. And extending the State and Local Cybersecurity Grant Program will make sure that states and localities have reliable funding to strengthen their cybersecurity posture. It is also worth examining that state of the Iranian cyber threat and potential impact Stuxnet had on Iran's cybersecurity posture. According to Nozomi Networks Labs, cyber attacks from Iranian threat actors surged by 133% in May and June of 2025. An active Department of Homeland Security National Terrorism Advisory System notice also emphasizes the need to remain on high alert to Iranian cybersecurity threats to U.S. critical infrastructure. Iran has embraced the targeting of critical infrastructure. The Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps affiliated actors have recently targeted OT, such as U.S. industrial control systems, in key sectors such as water and healthcare. I look forward to examining the current threats facing U.S. critical infrastructure and enduring significance of Stuxnet with our panel of expert witnesses today. Today's witnesses represent a range of perspectives, and I thank you all for contributing to our discussion about this pivotal moment in history of cybersecurity. I'm confident that your testimony will help us form a better understanding of today's digital weapons and the state of U.S. critical infrastructure resilience. I now recognize the ranking member, the gentleman from California, Mr. Swalwell, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman. And Chairman, that was an elegant, impactful, artful statement, but you buried the lead. Our chairman of the subcommittee has been selected by his colleagues to be the chairman of the full committee with the resignation of Chairman Green, effective earlier this week. So congratulations. I'm excited for what that means for the full committee. You and I have worked quite well over the last 3 years on this committee, especially to take on our cyber challenges and to have somebody at the full committee with your cyber knowledge and expertise, as our cyber threats are only escalating and AI has made that even more challenging, and the threat of quantum computing and what that means for cryptology. You're the right person to help lead the committee to do that. So looking forward to working with you. And I think I speak on behalf of my colleagues that we congratulate you on that win. Earlier this summer, Chairman Mark Green and I went out to my congressional district and visited Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. And committee staff from both sides were there as well. As you know, Lawrence Livermore National Lab is the nation's premier research and development facility. It attracts the best and brightest minds from around the world and helps keep the United States on the cutting edge of innovation, particularly related to national security technologies. Lawrence Livermore and our national labs are indispensable partners in our national effort to defend cyberspace, keeping their finger on the pulse of our adversaries' tactics and motivations while helping to develop novel technologies to detect and disrupt malicious cyber campaigns. We saw Lawrence Livermore works firsthand, and it's critical to national efforts to secure critical infrastructure our constituents rely on every day and the operational technology that underpins it. The lab's work is paying off dividends, especially related to the Chinese threat actors like Volt Typhoon, and I'm pleased that the lab today, through Dr. Gleason's testimony, will talk about its important work. Notably, the lab is a key partner in CISA's Cyber Sentry program, which places sensors on private sector networks on a voluntary basis to monitor for and detect cyber threats. The lab contextualizes data from the Cyber Sentry program with other intelligence feeds, generates unique insights into malicious cyber activity, and provides network defenders the know-how to kick out the adversaries. The knowledge derived through the lab's work benefits programs and activities across CISA, and I'm eager to learn how Lawrence Livermore and the National Lab community can continue to support federal efforts to better secure operational technology. Additionally, I'm interested to learn how other programs at sector risk management agencies and CISA, like the Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative, JCDC, support efforts to mature our collective approach to security. It's incumbent on the federal government to collaborate with its private sector partners to bring security resources to bear to these under-resourced sectors. Also, at this point, I want to just remind the committee and the public that CISA can only function when it is fully staffed. It should not be free from reforms, but currently it has lost approximately 1,000 employees since the DOGE cuts began to take place. That affects its ability to work with the private sector and be responsive. Fewer brains and reduced funding means less capability, less capacity, and less collaboration, which is detrimental to ongoing efforts to mature operational technology security programs. And also, I'd like to reiterate my strong support for the reauthorization of the other CISA, CISA 2015. Stakeholders have referred to CISA 2015 as the most successful cyber law ever passed, and I was a part of writing it and passing it in 2015 as a member of both this committee and the House Intelligence Committee. We cannot allow this critical authority to lapse. Toward that end, I was pleased to see a clean 10-year extension included in the Senate Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2026. It sends a clear message to our partners and our adversaries that cybersecurity continues to be a bipartisan priority in Congress. I look forward to working with my House colleagues to provide non-federal stakeholders the certainty they need to continue their strategic collaboration with the government by passing a clean authorization before it lapses later this fall. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Other members of the committee are reminded that opening statements may be submitted for the record. I am pleased to have a distinguished panel of witnesses before us today. I ask that our witnesses please rise and raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before the Committee on Homeland Security of the United States House of Representatives will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record reflect that the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. Thank you, and please be seated. I would now like to formally introduce our witnesses. Mr. Robert Lee is the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Dragos, a global technology leader in cybersecurity for OT and ICS environments. Mr. Lee also serves as a Lieutenant Colonel in the Army National Guard, where he designs and leads OT cybersecurity and response efforts. He's a member of the World Economic Forum subcommittees for the oil, gas, and electricity communities, and he serves on the advisory boards of the International Society of Automation and National Cryptologic Foundation. I now recognize Mr. Lee for 5 minutes to summarize his opening statement.
Chairman Garbarino, Ranking Member Swalwell, members of the subcommittee. 15 years ago, Stuxnet proved cyber attacks could cause physical destructions. Attacks on OT networks are under sustained and sophisticated assault from our adversaries today. I'm Robert Lee, CEO of Dragos, a former Air Force officer in NSA, and now serving since the last time we all met in this committee in my role in Lieutenant Colonel in the Army Guard, designing out OT defense strategies. I spent my career protecting these industrial systems that power our society. Let me be blunt, we are not prepared for a major attack on our critical infrastructure. We know that such an attack would be part of any major conflict with an adversary, but we are not doing enough to prepare, and the results of continued failure could be catastrophic, including the loss of life. At Dragos, we track over 25 state and non-state actors that target operational technology directly. 9 different malware families have been built specifically for industrial systems. The most versatile is very opposite to Stuxnet. Where Stuxnet was very, very targeted, Pipe Dream can be used against everything from unmanned aerial vehicles to water systems to power systems. Increasingly homogeneous machinery and technical systems have increased the OT attack surface and raised the potential consequences of a large-scale attack. But defense is doable. One example, Littleton Electric in Massachusetts used a federal grant to install our technology on the network after FBI intel indicated to them that they were being targeted by Volt Typhoon. We detected, isolated, and mitigated the attack with their partnership. They were able to do this because they had visibility in their OT networks and they were proactive in their security. Most companies don't do this. We know what works. Here are a few things that I recommend that we can do. First, we must stop treating OT like IT. These systems have different risks and require different defense strategies. Hearings like this one are critical to raise awareness of this distinction. A significant portion of the funding and resourcing in the community goes to IT, whereas the critical part of critical infrastructure is OT. Second, make public-private partnerships count. At Dragos, we uncovered Pipe Dream in coordination with the NSA and an undisclosed third party. We ended up coordinating with CISA and the electric ISAC, and that allowed us to warn operators before the adversary was even allowed to deploy it against targets across the United States. Broad, unfocused information sharing efforts, though, do not work. Targeted, focused coordination does. Third, we must streamline federal guidance. Right now, too many agencies are sending too many messages, many of which are overlapping and often contradictory to our industry. We have to tell the industry, here's the threat, here's what success looks like, but we have to let them handle the how. Right now, it is extremely confusing for asset owners and operators on turning to who is going to be the one to help them, and most importantly, what the actual guidance is that they should follow beyond regulatory. Fourth, we have to let the private sector lead on technology. We already have the tools to detect advanced threats. Federal efforts to replicate them just waste money and slow adoption. Fund deployment, not reinvention. Government should focus on over-the-horizon threats. The private sector has already created the tools and techniques needed to deal with the threats in the here to now. It's just about execution. Government tools have consistently underperformed in comparison to private sector tools and at a higher cost to taxpayers. Fifth, secure the supply chain. Critical infrastructure vendors must meet real security standards. Right now, all of the focus is placed on asset owners and operators and not the vendors. Asset operators and their vendor community should share responsibility for meeting basic security requirements for all the components that are installed into our critical infrastructure. Even the security vendors. As a CEO of Dragos, I'm surprised that I have the amount of flexibility I do to make willfully poor security choices to increase my margins. Though we have not done that and would not do that, I'm surprised by the ability of CEOs to make that decision. I believe we need higher standards and more selectivity into who can sell into critical infrastructure and how. Finally, we need to fix federal response coordination. Most operators simply don't know who to turn to call after an incident or what they'll get in response, and responses differ across state lines, and there's no basic credentialing for who shows up and what they can do. I'm helping write a national OT response plan in my role with the 91st Cyber Brigade, but we need legislative support to cut through the bureaucracy. I found great partnership in this effort with CISA, particularly strong support with Sean Planke, and I look forward to his confirmation. We simply know what needs to be done, and it's time to stop standing in our own way. Our kids' lives depend on it. To close, our adversaries are gaining ground, but we have the tools, the knowledge, and the people to win. Now we need large-scale execution in the public and private sectors. We know what needs to be done, we just need to do it. I'm grateful to all of you for holding this hearing and look forward to the rest of our conversation.
Mr. Lee, I want to go back to, because you were very passionate in your hands today and you really want to get them focused. Can you go a little more in depth? Because this is the stuff we're going to have to work on.
Stans Institute, which is the leading cybersecurity provider, analyzed every single industrial cyber attack that's ever taken place and just asked the basic question of what security controls actually worked. It was 5. And we know exactly what those 5 are. We know exactly how to do it. And if you look at regulation standards and everything else, it's not 5. Further, when you look at our rural communities, as mentioned, about 98% of this country is in that sort of below the cyber poverty line discussion, and they're not doing pretty much anything unless it's really passionate members there trying to help. But going back to what Kim said as well, you've got a large number of companies that will stand up and say how robust their security programs are, and I'm in a lot of those environments, and they're terrifying. So I have 3 kids. I did not really want to go back in the Army for extra time. It was, I really want to get this right. And I think if we're going to be serious about the conversation, it's focus on what we can actually do across the next couple of years. Pick a point of view. You're going to upset some people in doing so, but we need to do it. And at the same time, I would say you can roll out quickly. I think about 95%, anecdotally, about 95% of all cyber spend goes to enterprise IT, about 5% to OT. That is where your national security is, your environments, your local communities, and all of your ability to generate revenue. You look at sort of the visibility in this country. If you actually want to monitor your OT infrastructure, figure out, is China already there? I would say probably about 10% of the infrastructure around the country is being monitored. So when we're having big discussions about what comes next, I would just highlight that we're not even really being serious about what we know today.
What is your assessment of our offensive capability in this realm?
I'll take first pass at that. We are very, very good at our offensive capability. I think some concerns I have, you have to be able to get to root cause analysis on determining if we were attacked for us to go back and do something. I'm aware of numerous cases the government is currently tracking as maintenance issues for explosions and otherwise that were actually cyber attacks. If we're not detecting what's happening, then we're just going to say, oh, it must have been something random, and we're never going to get offensive. But putting my military hat on now, even just down the 91st Brigade alone, we've got a lot of offensive capability, and I would not want to be on the other side of us. But we also have to make it extremely hard for our competition to come back at us and at least know when they do it so that we can unleash our warriors.
Do we do that often enough? Do we flex our muscle often enough?
I think just looking back to testimony and commentary from Joe Nakasone, General Hawk, and others, I would say that we do not. I do not want to see an offensive world. I do not want to see targeting of civilian infrastructure, but when our adversaries make it very clear that they want to hurt us and hurt our families, I think we have to be very serious about showing them that we can do the same.
I agree. So, if we actually flexed our muscle every once in a while, the DOD flexes its muscle every once in a while, right? I guess you're saying we don't flex our muscle often.
I'm saying we don't flex it enough, but I would also advise that we have to be very serious on defense because we will see things back. Even if one agency in a government authorizes something at us and we are doing something that we view to be retaliatory, other agencies in that same government may not be aware of it unless we're able to call it out. And then all of a sudden you have a very escalatory situation.
We have a new realm of warfare, I guess, defense and offense is space. And so we created the Space Force, all right? Should we create a cyber force?
I'll stick with it and then open up to the panelists. I think it's time. I was very against it when I was in the Air Force. I was very against it for the years after, looking at how it was going to be orchestrated. I think it's time to do it, sticking to its OT&E mission of organizing, training, and equipping. Let Cyber Command and the combatant commands be the actual Title 10 authorities that we have. But we definitely need a dedicated service. But I think if you're going to do it right, you have to do it extremely big and right, because the problem that you'll have is all that infighting and the stuff that people say, oh, we politely work together in interagency. No, we don't. People are very territorial, and people will keep their best cyber warriors themselves and others.
So you're going back to my first round of questioning, right? That
yes.
There's turf guarding.
There's a lot of turf.
There is a lot of turf guarding. And so I would figure that now with Space Force and the Air Force, there's probably a lot of turf guarding there, right?
I don't see it as much myself, but I did leave the Air Force a while ago. I will say the Army would be very happy to have a cyber force under it from a department level, but I'm not so sure that it shouldn't just be made a department level service.
Okay, fair enough.
I come from a very rural district. And I've had CISA out to the district to talk to our business owners, but where's the piece of paper at? What can I hand off to everybody that is in my district and to my state and say, here, implementation of these 5 things will get you to a better place. And of course, as you said, everybody's going to beat it up because they're not going to be the ones that are involved in it or whatever. But I mean, from our nursing homes to our banks to our school districts, they've all been hit. And we have those conversations. Again, you heard me say it in my last line of question, very reactionary, because we don't know what we don't know. Where does that live? Hand it to me. I mean, help me out here.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the SANS Institute published the 5 critical controls. It's been backed by other governments as well.
The what did?
The SANS, S-A-N-S Institute.
Where does that live? Because
So
if I walked
online.
into Conroe, Texas and said, hey, go visit this place, they're going to look, I mean, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
something that the legislation all the way up needs to be talking about. I mean, I like to say we need to Facebook this thing so everybody and their cousin knows about it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I would love to see, again, government have a single voice to say, here's actually what's working. And as a rural guy from Alabama who joined the military, if I can figure it out, I promise everyone in your district can as well. But we need to speak, again, with one voice of government. If CISA had a single page of here's the resources available to you, this is what you can do, and every agency around supported it instead of their own thing, I think you'd see a lot more outcomes.
And if we do that, will the bad actors globally pinpoint those specific IT/OT and go after it, and then we're just dead in the water?
No, I don't think it would work in that such way. Even if you advertise broadly what your strategy for security is, it's the fact that you're actually doing and implementing it that makes you defended. The fact that your adversary knows you want to invest in secure remote monitoring or secure remote access or monitoring, that doesn't make you any less secure.
They'll most likely look somewhere else.
I hope so. Right now it is way too easy to target our systems, and right now we are doing very little. I would love to raise the bar where they actually have to come up with something creative.
Raise it. I mean, you're sitting in front of the group that's sitting here. Hey, we're asking you to. Well, I won't speak for my colleagues, but hey, I'm asking you right now, on record, do it. Bring it to us.
Yes, sir.
Write it down.
I provided some written testimony. I'm happy to brief you at any time, and I am trying my best.
I will absolutely see you after class, sir. Said with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Mr. Lee, I think you said 98% of communities were below the cyber poverty line.
Yes, Congressman. If you look at companies under about 100 million in revenue across all of our electric and water utilities, that's about 95 to 98% of them.
Mr. Lee, your experience in the private sector, is there any world where CISA 2015 lapses and a private sector company that has been hit would still be willing to come forward and share information with the Department of Homeland Security?
No, I think it's incredibly important to reauthorize it. And the bidirectional communication from government to private sector, especially on the threat picture overall, is exactly one of the roles and responsibilities that makes a lot of sense.
And then that's because no CISO would be able to go to the DHS without liability protection
Yes.
and their fiduciary duty to the shareholders. I mean, they would be exposing themselves to a lot of risk. Is that right?
Absolutely. And that's actually a broader issue, even looking from a National Guard perspective of could we go in and respond to a utility that gets hit? We have no indemnification to give utilities. So they're not going to let us touch anything and do any action on it. There are very simple bureaucratic things that can be fixed to increase national security tomorrow.
Great. Thank you.
Is there language or are there changes or focuses that we should implement into law that we should consider to ensure OT is better protected or covered?
A lot of times, a lot of asset owners and operators feel that it's a one-way communication into government with no expectation of what comes out of it. You want somebody to go through the risk of sharing information. There's got to be a very clear, and here's the rules of the road of what we can provide for you. As a result, cross-agency without any drama. We talked about turf wars. I led the OT portion of the incident response for Colonial Pipeline. I witnessed a lot of turf wars between FBI and CISA. It needs to be very clean, or no asset owner and operator will want to work with them. They view them as children.
I want to thank you all for your valuable testimony. The members for their questions. The members of the committee may have additional questions for the witnesses, and we ask that you all respond to those in writing. Pursuant to Committee Rule 7E, the hearing record will be held open for 10 days. Without objection, this committee stands adjourned.